Hi, I'm Marco, and I'm here today to tell you about our first encounter with the CAMELINA sativa and the food fortification. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about, but before meeting with the researcher of the Italian National Research Council, I didn't have any idea what I'm talking about. I got from them tons of information about the camelina. I was sure we were not talking about a person, but then I heard about talking about omega-3 in eggs, cover crops, camelina cake. I was sure it wasn't a sweet, but then they were talking about sustainability, biofuel. I got really impressed at the same time confused. It was really hard to process all this information at the same time. Then I started looking into the plant and tried to search more information about everything I heard. It could sound funny, but the first thing that really impressed me was reading about the bees. When bees are still lethargic in spring, the camelina flowers are the first source of nutrients and nectar for the bees. So I started looking into more of, it looks like a biodiversity, the pollination. It really helps the agriculture to increase their value because camelina, as I found out, is easy to cultivate and to preserve. Are two different crops, one in winter and one in summer. The summer one is shorter than the first one or so. It can grow in marginal agricultural lands and it doesn't require a lot of field intervention. But since the weather is changing and we still have less water and less water, camelina doesn't require it. So it can grow with a very low amount of water and is the ideal for cover crops. But at the end, what we found is that the seeds are a great source of omega-3 fatty acids, and also it's rich in vitamin E and natural antioxidants that really helps our body to prevent inflammation and oxidation. So we then started looking more into about the camelina. Uh, the seed, the cake is the leftover after the seed get pressed and can obtain a great vegetable oil. Probably most of you are familiar with the canola oil or the rapeseed oil. The camelina, as we said before, is rich in omega-3, so it's an edible oil, but it's at the same time great for cosmetics since it's rich in vitamin E, can be used for biodiesel or jet fuel aircraft as well, biolubricant, biopolymers. But when we got the oil, then we have this leftover, the cake. Cake, we found out, could be used as nutraceutical. It's great protein, it's rich in polysaccharides, it's being used as a feed, fertilizers, a rich source of proteins, and then we still have the waste. Again, it can be used as a feed for all the animals, as we saw for the poultry. It can be a source of biogas, fertilizer. So really, it's part of an entire economical circle. And then we start thinking, how can we approach the camelina? So we start looking into it, studying, getting into the approach, and definitely, you see, is the entire life cycle of the camelina can really supply a lot of products. Then we're starting with what we call the life cycle approach in developing camelina products. So piece by piece, we define which step we were going to take using this beautiful plant. We started the cultivation ourselves. We defined what is better in the spring, what is better in the winter, and piece by piece, we obtain a great edible oil cold pressed, get filtered. We eat great for functional food. It's rich in omega-3 and omega-6, and we're going to see much more in detail afterwards. But from the cake, instead of the leftover and using olive to feed the animals, it was a great source of polysaccharides and great in the nutraceutical application for dietary supplements, phytocomplex as a microencapsulated oil as well. But it can be used as a carrier as well to increase the bioavailability of other complex. And last but not least, we don't throw away anything. So once the cake has been used to produce and to extract the carrier, we take over all the anti-nutrients, and it can be a great source for feed and proteins for the animals. But as well, it can be used as a reverse crop to leave it into the land. The life cycle thinking approach, it's not only related to the product itself and to the production of the different stages of the process, but it also involves a lot of activities that includes hotspots, actors, and solutions to promote the sustainability and the circular economy. In our project, we first involved the local authorities because we were looking for some more lucrative crops, and especially to convince the farmers to change their perspective in terms of biodiversity, climate change, new crops that will be allowing them to increase their revenue at the same time to preserve the territory. This was hard the first time, but it's getting harder when we have to talk about consumers' manufacturers, especially in countries like our Italy, where consumption of oil is related to the olive oil. The camelina oil has a lot of advantages, but at the same time, the taste is not as useful as well as the olive oil. All these situations must be cultivated together in terms of having the first result and the main result with the consumers, the manufacturer, the investor. We have to look into the transport, so reduce the distances. We're cultivating close to the factory in terms of we can use everything close to the land, so we can use the waste and not spend a lot of CO2 in terms of transportation and production. And became the main part of the project. After 5 years, when we're starting the first sowing of the crops, we can say that it wasn't easy to identify the critical points, what we call the hotspots, for the entire production process. Because, with the climate change, now with the cost of energy, pollution, land, biodiversity, so all these potential impacts were put together in the same cycle, and so the picture was clear from the beginning to the end. This allowed us to guide the selection of all the solutions, and especially with what they call the social economic implications from the farmers to the manufacturers to the consumers. So let's get now to focus on the primary result of the camelina oil, the cold press oil of the camelina sativa seed. As we always said since now, it's full in omega-3 and omega-6. It has a perfect ratio between the two acids. 2 times the linoleic acid compared to the linoleic acid. But what is very important is that the European Food and Safety Administration has issued a claim on the use of the alpha-linoleic acid in terms of maintaining the normal blood cholesterol concentration, in terms of 2 grams of intake of oil, alpha-linoleic acid, can really help maintain the blood cholesterol concentration. I'm not going to have a scientific lesson of how important are the omega-3 today, but just to remember how it's important for the human nutrition have omega-3s like the precursor or the EPA and DHA that our body has to produce themselves, especially with the anti-inflammatory effects that due to the actual stress, daily stress we produce basically every day. The metabolism from the cell membranes, the nervous system, to the cardioprotective effects, retinal homeostasis, just to mention few of those. And these information, they have scientifically proven backup since history of consumption of the camelina oil. When we're talking about food consumption, nutrition, and ingredient for the preparation of a human food, one of the most important things is the stability of the oil. As we saw before, the vitamin A that is in quantity within the oil helps to preserve the fatty acid from oxidation. So the shelf life of the oil can be controlled is a little longer than normal because it's very important. We develop internally an HP analysis method to take control of all the Camelina sativa oil, and within the years, we can assure the high stability and confirm the high stability of the oil even during the cooking or the dow processing of the oil. So one day we have decided to move from the laboratory to the field, to the consumption. So what we're going to do with this beautiful olive oil and see what we can make ourselves. On the side, in another project, we developed the pigmented corn that we call moradin. Is our own variety. It's rich in anthocyaniin. So we blend together the corn flour with the camelina oil, and we came up with the healthy bread replacement concept that has been clinically studied and is a solution ready for the market. So 70 grams of crackers supply the 2 grams of alpha-linoleic acid, so we can use the European Food and Safety Administration claim based on the content of omega-3 in the camelina oil. So all these crackers have been prepared and given to subjects over 65 years old. So the double-blind randomized placebo-controlled study has been held for 12 weeks. And, the blood triglycerides and LDL lower within the camelina group post-intervention, and all this information will be ready soon, and the publication has been accepted, as we see by the British Journal on Nutrition, to substantiate the health claims of the camelina. I just want to briefly introduce one of the main products that has been developed for the waste. We call the camelina cake. Once the seed is pressed, it's cold pressed, and the oil is produced. The cake was normally used to feed cows, chickens, and all kind of animals to supply them proteins and omega-3. From this cake, we develop a delivery system able to increase 40% of the bioaccessibility index of any fetal complex from the polysaccharides intake of the camelina cane. The project has been patented. The solution is available and will be in the market soon, and is one of the pillar of our life cycle thinking approach, because with this we're going to close the full circle of all the product testing and available to the market, and especially with the food value chain of the Camelina Sativa project. A special thank is be given to the Italian National Research Council, University of Milan Bicocca, and University of Pavia to having supported us with all the technology, analysis, concept that we developed into 3 different projects that help us to complete the Camelina life cycle thinking approach. The FoodNet, Special 3, and Phytodam, 3 huge projects financed thanks to the Lombardy region and the European Union through the Poor Fairs 2014-2020 Innovation and Competitivity. And thank you very much for your time and attention. If you want to know more about the ongoing Camelina project and its development, please do not hesitate to contact us or visit our website at www.flanet.com. Thank you again and have a great, wonderful day.